Building upon the expertise we acquired, developing the first practical approach to activity-based costing, we at Strategic Cost Systems have done it again. We have developed a revolutionary approach to strategy integration called bridging. It closes the gap between strategy selection and execution. It takes strategy out of the executive suite and integrates it into the entire organization, making it everyone's job. How did we do it? Our first step was to study all aspects of strategy and the way it is integrated by corporations, both large and small. What we found is that while some organizations did a better job integrating their selected strategy than others, the most common approach was to focus on a few metrics and drive them down into the organization. The problem with this approach is it's the tail wagging the dog. It elevates these metrics to the center of attention, not the underlying strategic goals. We saw that a better approach was to start with the critical components of an organization's strategy and communicate them to everyone involved in its implementation, and then add metrics. After studying more than 30 organizations, we honed and formalized bridging, allowing us to build an early version of our software, the Bridge. Over the next few years, it was applied to over 70 organizations by approximately 200 executive MBA students. They used it to break the strategies at their organizations down into their major components. Along the way, we realized that for the purposes of strategy integration, a new view of strategy was required. This view focuses on the voluntary stakeholders or constituents of the organization, namely its investors, customers, employees, and partners. For the purposes of bridging, the primary objective of a strategy is to attract the right constituents in the right numbers for the right amount of time. The definitive rationale for adopting this view is that it incorporates all four constituent groups, not just customers and investors. Breaking down strategy in this way allows it to be described using terminology everyone can understand. This view allows us to create pathways that capture the cause and effect logic of the strategy that applies to each constituent group. Imagine an organization that is a product leader. Its executive team must carefully manage its relationships with both its employees and customers. For example, to be successful, it must attract superb engineers. To satisfy them, it must train and educate them in state-of-the-art approaches to product design. To retain them, it must reward them when they succeed. To attract the right customers willing to pay a price premium, it must offer them the best products available. The new view wowed the executive students. It showed them that many of their companies were executing their strategies in ways that did not fully support the vision of their CEOs. For example, the bridging team at the product leader discussed earlier discovered its customers were dissatisfied with a major product. The cause of this dissatisfaction was that they did not understand how to properly operate it. Bridging showed that the organization was not adequately educating its sales force and teaching their customers how to take advantage of the product. To overcome this weakness, the organization immediately introduced a training program for its sales force. This example is just one instance of the changes introduced because of the insights gained by the executive student teams. From the reactions of the executives, we knew we were on the right path. However, we still had a way to go. Bridging was redesigned with an expanded framework that paid special attention to the synergies between constituent groups by creating interconnecting pathways between them. By providing these additional pathways, bridging emphasizes the reinforcing actions of all four constituent groups. By adding metrics to these pathways, the effectiveness of the way the organization attracts constituents can be monitored. Consequently, a new strategy control panel can be added to everyone's toolbox, executives and managers alike. We now had the framework to track strategy not only down but also up and across the entire organization. What we did not have was a way to visually communicate it. Our next goal was to automatically generate an atlas of interactive strategy maps. Like roadmaps, bridging maps are easy to read and understand because they use common symbols, colors, borders, and arrows. Yes, it works. Under bridging, a selected strategy can be systematically broken down into components of constituent attraction that are owned and managed by every level of employee in the organization. Strategy integration for the first time can be managed with an interactive, powerful, visual set of tools. With bridging in place, an organization's competitive ability is substantially enhanced.